Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today bought his first investment property at the age of 22 and has over 40 years of experience in fix and flips and buy and hold investing. Joe Holmes joins us today. Joe, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is all mine. So to kick things off, tell us about your real estate goals right now.
My goals really, at my age, I'm in my 60s, and it's really to help other people. Began doing that several years ago, in particular with my son-in-law and my daughter. Started teaching them how to do the flip business that I've been doing for years, that my dad taught me how to do. That's going along really well, and they're kind of on autopilot at this point in time. And so now I'm teaching others how to do fix and flips and buy and holds and everything else in between, because I've done everything from buying with no money down all the way up to fix and flips.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see that family component where it passes on through each generation. Just because I found with myself, I didn't grow up in a real estate family, so I wasn't exposed to that. But I find, like your situation, your father passed it on to you, and now you're passing it on to your kids. So that's great.
Thank you.
And so as now you're giving back to other people and you're passing on your knowledge. Back when you were starting or maybe starting to grow your fix and flip business, did you ever set targets for yourself to say, hey, I want to do so many this year? Or how did you grow and expand?
It really came kind of, I guess, all of a sudden. My dad taught me how to do this business, so he's literally dragging me out to his rentals when I was in my teens, early teens.
Yeah.
In high school, obviously, nobody wants to go out with their dad to do things on the weekends because, you're busy with your friends, but it was a great experience. When I was 20, I actually bought my first property, and it was a property that I was living in at the time. And then at 22 is when I bought my first investment. And that was, I found it on a local newspaper. And remember, we're talking 40 years ago, so there's no cell phones, no internet, there's nothing. So I looked in the newspaper and I saw this ad, and it said, "Take over my payment, I'm getting a divorce." 2-bedroom condo in my local area here, San Juan Capistrano. And I read that and I go, wow, that's interesting. Let me call this person and find out what was going on. So I did, and I talked to the lady, and she says, yeah, I'm getting divorced, and I'm a couple of months behind. If you want to take over my payments, you can have my property. I don't want it. And I go, okay. So I did. It's funny in a way, but kind of exciting. I actually still own that property today, and it's been a great investment for me. And I think that's what really kicked me off into real estate, and at that point gaining some more knowledge, because here I am, I'm a rental property owner, a landlord, and what do I do now? And so that's when I actually went out and got my real estate license, learned how to do real estate, learned how to do property management, and then just kind of went forward from there.
Yeah. And at age 22, I know your father was a big influence, but what pushed you to acquire your first investment property? Were you out there actively looking at the time when you saw the ad, or was it just a fluke that you happened to come across it?
It was kind of just a fluke. It wasn't that it really wasn't that I was actively looking. I had a principal residence that I already had. My wife calls it my bachelor pad because we sold that right before we got married. So it wasn't something that I was actually looking for, and it was, I was just reading the paper and saw that, hey, there's that potential there, a potential deal, and that got me really excited, and so I went out and got it.
Yeah. And what prompted you then to keep going and acquire more properties after that? Because lots of people, they buy one investment property and then they kind of stop. So what was the driving force that made you continue?
I think it was, again, at the time, different laws were in existence than they are today. So in that particular instance, I actually assumed that loan. I didn't have to qualify for it or anything. And it was honestly, it was just the excitement that I could buy a property and not put any money down into it. I did make two of her mortgage payments, but then I took it over after that and I go, wow, if this is out there, what else is out there? Then that's when I really got kind of serious and started looking at potential deals, started to reach out to real estate agents and things of that nature to try to find some more. It's just, I guess I've heard other people say, and in my case as well, I just caught the real estate bug, and it
Yeah.
just like I just couldn't stop consuming that information and then learning more and more after that.
Yeah. And for yourself with the fix and flips, do you have any tips for somebody who's maybe looking to do their first project and maybe they have some knowledge, but they've never experienced it before?
Great question, and that kind of brings it up to date.
Yeah.
So the first thing you need to do is gain some knowledge of what it is to do a fix and flip. It's not simply going out, finding a real estate agent, having them tell you, hey, this is a good property to buy it, and then start flipping. You really, really have to do your homework, and that's what I encourage when I train people how to do fix and flips. um, that is what I really encourage you to do. Okay, so you have to start from the beginning. You have to purchase the property at the right price. If you don't purchase the property at the right price, you've already lost in that game. You have to have your team in place, your contractors. Here in California, we use escrow companies. We don't use attorneys. So you have a good escrow company that you can use, a good title company you can use, and then start the project. It's always great to have someone like me to mentor you through the process. So if you can find somebody in your particular area that's willing to do that for you, then yeah, that's the first thing that I would do.
Yeah. And I know now with HGTV and all the TV shows, fix and flip is almost glamorized and simplified to a point where it's what you're seeing on TV is not reality. Do you have any comments on the difference between doing a real project and watching a 30-minute TV show?
Um, for the most part, it's just the fix and flips on TV. It's almost like speed dating.
Yeah.
They get everything accomplished in a short period of time. It is that, but you do come up with issues that you have to deal with along the way. Those are the things that they don't show on fix and flips. Um, it's just really a matter of sitting down with somebody that's experienced, that knows how to do it, knows how to buy property correctly, knows how to hire a contractor that's not going to gouge you at the end of the day, not going to add, for every little change, they're not going to change the price on you. Things of that nature that will make you a successful flipper at the end of the day.
Yeah. And did you ever, with your projects, did you ever have it worked into the contract that there was a hard end date for the job, just to ensure that you would be, in case the job went overtime, you would be, paid for that?
Great question, and I have people ask me that all the time. Do you have a hard end date, or do you have a bonus if they finish early?
Hmm.
I don't. The contractors that I work with, they know what I need. They know the time frame that I'm needing it, and unfortunately, contractors, I don't want to put them in the same bubble, but they're kind of all the same. I go through contractors probably every 2 to 3 years. They get complacent. They start not to answer my calls. The projects start to go a little bit longer, and that just gives me an indication that, okay, well, something else is going on there in their life. Maybe they've got other people that they're helping with projects, and mine's like in the back burner. So that's the time that I start looking for somebody else. I always have, I have 3 contractors now. I always have extra contractors to step up in case one of them is not doing something correctly. So that's kind of the way that I play it. I don't put a penalty, and I don't give a reward for anything like that. I've looked into that. It just doesn't work. It really doesn't. For me, at least, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And would you say you have any routines or rituals that you follow maybe daily or weekly that helps keep you focused on your real estate? Maybe when it flips in progress, do you have any checklist of things that you have to do every day?
Um, I don't personally now, because I've taken those tasks and given them to my son-in-law and my daughter.
Hmm.
So like I said, they're kind of on autopilot. But yes, before then yes, there are some certain things that I do. Um, every day I wake up and it's about acquiring more properties. That's probably where I spend the most time, honestly, right now, is looking for those distressed property, the distressed deals. I get deals from everybody. I get deals from real estate agents, from wholesalers. I'm on the multiple listing service every single day, probably 2 and 3 times a day. I'm literally out looking at property every day. The rehab, the contractors, I meet them in the beginning. They know what they need to do. I usually go probably once a week, and I go once a week because I pay them once a week. Sometimes other flippers pay their contractors every couple of weeks or whatever. I found it easier to pay it once a week. I go there. If I see that there's been progress during that week, I pay them. If I don't, then they know that I'm leaving without paying them anything, and they know why.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my routine as we go along. The contractor's either calling me or waiting for me to come that day. Most of the time they call and they say, okay, we're at this stage. What kind of flooring do you want? Do you want the same paint that we used last time? And understand my process for flipping is really, really pretty much a cookie cutter process. So I'm using the same paint. I'm using the same cabinets. I'm using the same flooring. If it's the same product in the same price range, I'm using the same items. Try not to make it difficult for your contractor. At the end of the day, it's yes, the product's going to look like your other product, but that was maybe in another city someplace. It's not like it's next door.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much an automated cookie cutter process.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point because you've created a system that's repeatable time and time again. You know exactly what you're going to do. And that allows you to know your costs going into a project because you've just done five of the same kitchens.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't need the contractor to be calling me every 2 minutes. Hey, what kind of handles do you want on the doors for the kitchens and the vanities, or, what kind of faucets you want? It's pretty much, they know exactly what I want.
Yeah. And looking back at all the deals that you've done, is there one that stands out as a Keystone deal?
Probably the most recent one I'd say would be about 4 or 5 years ago, when I started with my son-in-law and my daughter, and I taught them the business the way that my dad taught me. So my son-in-law was working a sales job, and he said, hey, I'm kind of at a dead-end job here. I'm not making much money. I think 60 grand, and we live in Orange County, California. If you're not making 100 grand, you're not really living here
Yeah.
at all. It's very expensive to live here. And he says, I know you used to flip property. Can you teach me how to do it, or can I flip properties with you? And I said, yeah, I'm happy to teach you. And I'm not going to give you my money and say go out and do it. I have to teach you. So go get your tool belt and your hammer, and let's go find a project, and we'll start with a project, which is what my dad did. Very talented in that way. My dad was like way more super talented than me. I can do about 90 to 95% of the project myself. There's certain things that heavy duty wiring or heavy duty plumbing I can't do, but minor plumbing, minor wiring, hanging up cabinets. I have professionals that do that. I do flooring, painting, all that stuff. So the first project we picked up was a property locally here in San Juan Capistrano. It happened to be in a 55 plus community, and that's like another story. But we started out with that project, and at the end of the day, we ended up making $80,000 on that project.
Nice.
My son-in-law said, "You know what? I think I'm just going to do this full time." I go, "Yeah, it's probably a good idea because you kind of built your salary in for this first flip here." And then we did 2 or 3 more, him and I together after that, so that he learned the business from the ground up, because obviously he's dealing with contractors. He caught on very quickly. He got his real estate license. Now he has his broker's license. Um, and like I said, they're really pretty much on autopilot at this point. They're out there looking for properties. They're working with the contractors and rehabbing the properties, putting them back on the market, selling them. So and that's very, very, it makes me very happy that he's at that point. They both are at that point.
Yeah, that's great. And have you? One thing that I see is people just starting into the fix and flip business is they'll try and do all the work of themselves because they think they're actually saving money. But usually it turns out that they're better off hiring a professional to come in and do the work faster and better if they don't have those skills. What have you found with yourself and seeing other fix and flippers? Do you think it really makes sense to bring in those professionals who can do a job quicker and faster and actually pay them good money?
Great question, and we ran into that early on. Again, I'm teaching him the business, so it's very
Yeah.
important that I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on our third project. We're looking to do 3 or 4 more projects at the same time, but obviously it's just him and me. So,
Yeah.
at that point in time, we decide, okay, well, let's just get some contractors involved in here. At the end of the day, once we figured out what our expenses were and our labor and what the contractor was doing, the contractor did it in probably the same amount of time or less than we were doing it. We ended up paying probably, I'd say, anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 more, which, you have to look at that. Okay, well, that's what your labor was, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were earning for 2 of us, $10,000 or $15,000. If you want to save $10,000 or $15,000 on a project and doing yourself, that's fine. I would just say make sure that you do it in a timely manner. Our projects are, at the most we want to be in a project is 3 or 4 months. We don't want to be in a project anything longer than that. We're like literally flipping project to project to project, just literally churning the money over and over again. If I start out with $500,000 property in January, and I like to do at least 10% profit, if I can do 2 or 3 of those a year, my profit on the same money is 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
Okay. Contractors I found were extremely better because, like, for example, painting, it's him and I painting. Okay. I hire a painting contractor. He's got like 6 or 7 guys that are painting. They get it done in like a day or 2, where it would take me, like with him, like a week to get
Mm-hmm.
this done. So that's kind of the difference between doing it yourself and hiring a professional. A professional can throw a lot of manpower into the project and get it done a lot quicker. And so, yeah, you're paying a little bit more, but I think if you take the cost benefit analysis of doing it yourself and a contractor, I think you'll find that the contractor is probably a better course of action for you, and you can do more deals that way.
Yeah. And speaking of doing more deals, let's say somebody's maybe doing 1 or 2 flips a year. What would you say that they have to change in their business to allow them to scale up to maybe doing, 5 or 6 a year and keep growing after that?
Well, I guess I would have to ask them why they're only doing 1 or 2. Is it
Yeah.
because that's all they want to do? Um, I've got a flip that I have in escrow right now that honestly has a potential to make me $100,000 on just that one flip. Um, if I did 2 of those a year, would I be happy? Yeah. You know, if I really, really wanted to do like 10, would I be a lot happier? I guess. So it really kind of depends on the individual. I've got a young man who just got his real estate license, and he inherited some money from um, a lawsuit that was involving, something I don't even know exactly what the details are, and he's got a couple of $100,000 that he wants to invest in real estate. And so I told him, I said, here's a project that I'm doing. You can do the same thing. You can make 100 grand on
Hmm.
this project. And I go, where else are you going to make $100,000 in that year? Is that enough for you for this year? And he's kind of saying like, yeah, that would be a good start. I said, yeah, obviously that would be a good start. So that flipping is a good business to be in. Yeah, don't get your listeners wrong that you're making 100,000 on each flip, because you're not. We made 30,000 on a condo flip the other day. Our average is around 50 to 60. This one's a special deal because I bought it at a really, really good price. So I'm looking to make 100,000, but that's kind of the ranges, and that's kind of the potential that's out there in flipping. So why are you only doing two? Do you just want to do two? Are you happy just doing two? Is there something that's holding you back? Is it money? Is it time? Are you a part-timer doing this business? So there's a lot of questions that I would have to ask somebody.
Yeah. And on the money subject, did you ever bring in money partners to fund some of your flips, or did you always fund them yourself?
I'm very fortunate. I've been doing this for 40 years, so I fund all my flips myself. Okay, but we did get to a potential or a point in time where we had more deals than I had money. Okay, and so we ended up getting some money partners, and those were hard money partners. Those very expensive
Yeah.
partners. Okay, we just recently did a deal with a couple that I met through Bigger Pockets, and they wanted to learn how to do flipping, and they wanted to be hands-on, which I love. I love to teach people, and I want them to be hands-on. And so I let them go into one of my deals. They went 50%. I went 50%. I taught them how to do the flip, and introduced them to the contractor, had them meet us there, just from day one to the closing. So yeah, we do that as well. We have clients, but those are type of clients that I look for are the ones that I want to be hands on. I don't necessarily want a partner that says here's a $500,000 and go flip with my money and then give me whatever my share is.
Yeah.
That kind of doesn't wake me up in the morning. I'm here. I want to be here to help people, especially young people like yourself. That's really, really my goal in life, is to help people, young people, get ahead. And you don't need, I mean, I hate to say this, really don't need money. Money's out there. It'll flow to a good deal. If it's a good deal, for example, if in this $100,000 deal, if I were to offer that to somebody and they said, well, I have no money, well, then fine, then go out and get a hard money loan. They're going to give you a loan. They have no
Mhm.
problem. The thing is that hard money cost is probably going to be around 30,000, 40,000. So instead of making 100, you're going to make 60 or 70. Are you good with that? Everybody's going, yeah, I'm good with that. Okay. But if it's a thinner deal and you're down to, like, let's say making 50 grand, and then the hard money is going to take 25, are you okay with making 25? I find that, when I'm talking to millennials, everybody says, yeah, I'm still good with that, Joe. Me, I like to make, at least 10%. So I want to make the whole 50, not the 25, because I know, what it takes to do the project.
Yeah.
So I do use money partners. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are some good tips. So, getting into real estate, how has that changed your life and benefited you and your family?
Okay, so the first property that I bought, the rental property when I was 22, I just had my first child. I have three kids, two boys, and my daughter, who is actually my business partner here at the brokerage that we run together. Um, the first property, I told my wife, I said, this is going to be the property that we keep so that I can pay for his college education. Okay. And then we had obviously two other children after that. So I had to keep, building my portfolio of properties. Got started early, obviously, right as they were born. So When they turned 18, I had enough money there, was paid down enough where if I needed to refinance the property, I could have to pay for his college, but I had really good cash flow. Okay. So I did not have to do that. I paid for all three of their educations. They came out of school owing nobody any money. That's, I guess, my responsibility, and I kind of met that. I went even a little bit further, and I get a lot of people saying, Joe, can you adopt me after I make these comments? When they each turned 16, I bought them a brand new car when they were in high school. And the reason I did that, because when I was growing up, my dad made me buy my car. And again, I had properties that were cash flowing and I had the money, so I did that. When they turned 18, obviously I sent them to school and educated them. When they came out of school, during the last downturn 10 years ago, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to buy property. So I bought each of them a starter condo, 1-bedroom condo, which they've taken from that, and they're all in single family houses at this point. But at least I got them started. And here in California, that starter condo 10 years ago was $100,000. That same starter condo, if you wanted to buy it today at this market level, is about 350, 400,000.
Yeah.
So age was a really good benefit for me, because I had been through three of these cycles, and I knew that, okay, this is the time in California. If you're going to buy a property, this is the time to do it. Not honestly, not now, because it just doesn't cash flow now.
Hmm.
But I was very fortunate in knowing all that stuff, and that's how I helped my children along the way. Now I'm, funding college for my grandchildren.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because you were able to give your children, pay for their education, get them the cars, but they were able to see at the same time that it was real estate that was paying all that stuff for them. So would you say they had the light bulb kind of flash in their head at that point?
Yeah, especially my middle child. He's also a real estate agent. He also does flips. And then my daughter, and she's the youngest. She's 30, and she learned early on that it was real estate that was really driving everything in her life and the other siblings' lives. And I'm a very generous person, but I also expect a lot for that. It's not like, I want to just give this to you. I have to educate you on all this. It's not like I'm just going to give this to you, because it's like giving a lottery winner millions and millions of dollars. It's gone within the first couple of years because they don't know how to manage that.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, it was very important that I teach them. I mean, and I'm literally dragging, just like my dad did, I'm literally dragging him to my rehabs. Go paint that wall, go paint that room, come help me over here, put some tile. So they're learning from the ground up. It's not something that I just gave to them.
Yeah.
They had to kind of earn it along the way.
Yeah, no, that's great. So if somebody's looking to get in touch with you, maybe learn from you, find out what you're doing, where can they find you?
You can go to my website, probably the easiest, joehomes.com, www.joehoms.com. There's contact links, information in there. You can call me directly, 949-625-4533. My email address is joe@joehomes.com. So everything's kind of my name, so it's not difficult to find me. If you're in Orange County, please reach out. If you're on Bigger Pockets, I use Bigger Pockets a lot. I think it's a great forum. I'm on Bigger Pockets. You can reach out in Bigger Pockets through me to see to contact me there. I also kind of want to let everybody know that yes, I guess I am a real estate guru, but I don't charge anything for all this information and services. I never have. I probably never will. I don't believe in that business model where you charge tens of thousands of dollars. And I know that probably 95% of the people that pay that amount never do anything with real estate. All I ask is if you meet with me, you have a cup of coffee, please pay for coffee. If you're really generous, have lunch with me, pay for lunch. I'm happy to share an hour of my experience with you and give you whatever it is that you're looking for. And then we can go forward after that. I get a lot back from people that I train. And obviously, if you're flipping property and you're not a real estate agent, then after I've trained you, you obviously need to sell the property, so you bring the property back to me. I even discount my commission at that point as well, because I know how hard it is to flip property and make ends meet. So I guess that's kind of my commercial at the end here. Sorry, but that's kind of my commercial. But I just want to make sure everybody knows out there that I don't charge for anything whatsoever. If you want to pick my brain for an hour, just reach out.
That's great. Well, Joe, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today and sharing your success with us.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
No, it was my pleasure. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.